Here is a Lasko Premium box, the Fien. This is a 2000s model. This one was made in 2006 or 2007, and it's model 3723. There's the informations, and this is very, very poorly stamped, but in certain lighting conditions you can make out it says 06 to 07. This is 1.1 amps. This has the stronger of the two motors that Lasko put in the box fans over the last 20 years or so. We're going to clean and service this today. We'll make it look and run like new. I get a lot of questions about these in relation to the 3733 and the bottom of the barrel model. Are these worth the extra money? They are about 20 bucks more expensive than the 3733, and I would say that they are. This is a considerably better product than the 3733. It is quieter, it moves way more air. I think the cabinet is a little bit thicker. It's a better product all around. I do think it's worth the extra money. In fact, these are probably the best box fans you can buy today. Not that that's a very high bar, but these are pretty respectable. I get these out of the trash all the time. People just throw them out when they get dirty, and I also get people that come in the comments of these videos and say, "Well, why do you waste all your time cleaning up and just throw it out, buy a new one?" Well, first off, it's a horrible model of operation. And secondly, these really aren't that cheap anymore. As of the time of this taping, these retail for about $45 at the Home Depot, and that's a decent amount of money to me. I can buy food all week with that kind of money. So I am going to clean it and service it and keep using it year after year. If you take halfway decent care of these things, you can get decades of operation out of these things. They're not built to anywhere near the standards that they used to be, but the motors in these things are surprisingly tough. A lot more than people give them credit for. This one I picked up at the thrift store for $5. It's kind of unusual for it to end up in the thrift store as opposed to in the trash can, but this one did. And kind of unusual to see it $5, not $4.99. I guess they didn't feel like using stupid sales gimmicks on this one. This has the handle still. These handles are notorious for breaking. This is still in good condition. That's very uncommon. It's a little dirty, but the paint's in pretty good shape. Lots of grime on the top. We'll get all that cleaned off. And the motor is starting to cake with dust. That's not good. The main reason these usually get discarded is lack of power. Once any amount of dust builds up on the leading edge of the blade like that, and or on the front guard, the amount of air these moves just exponentially cuts. I don't really know why it's so dramatic on these. It's like that on most fans, but on these in particular, the performance just tanks when they start to get dirty. So after a couple years, people tend to just chuck them because they're not moving as much air, but a very simple way to fix that and get it working properly again. So let's do a quick test run before we clean it up so we can see how it works before and after. No, we're not ready for this yet. We're going to test at 117.9 volts. It's allowed 1.1 the amps. That's full power. Now, case in point, look how free the bearings are. And this is almost 20 years old. This is 17, 18 years old. And the bearings are so free it'll actually spin backwards because the blade's so out of balance. Now even just that amount of dust is severely cutting down the performance. I can detect air moving across the room, but it's very, very gentle. These will put out a pretty strong breeze when they're in good working order. You'll also notice the sound. This is very quiet. It's going to sound very different once it's serviced, and we'll come back to this particular point in the video later on, and I'll put a side-by-side comparison clip of this and then a video of it running when it's clean, and you'll be able to hear the difference. It's a significant difference. And let's grab the airflow tester. See, it's very very gentle and lackluster. The medium, and the high. And it's not even kicking up enough air to tip itself over. It should be, and it likely will once it's cleaned up. It's out of balance like most of these are, but it's not the worst I've seen. We'll do some bearing survey. I had to shut this ceiling fan off there. It's making some kind of weird noises. We'll service the bearings even though it doesn't really need much. Do some preventative maintenance on there. Alright, so let's start with the irremovable Goodwill sticker. This was a point of frustration for me for many years until somebody told me how to get these off. You can use the heat. I can find my heater. I cannot find my heater. Where's the heater? I usually keep a little portable heater over here for this purpose so I can warm up the sticker, but the heater is gone. That's interesting. Okay, I found the heater. So what we'll do is we'll just hold this heater up against the sticker for 30 seconds or so, and then it'll come right off. Otherwise, these things are almost impossible to remove, and it leaves a sticky freak show all over the place. I'm just going to get it warm enough to kind of soften the adhesive a little bit, and then it comes off clean. Let's see if that's good enough. Nope. I don't know why this store does this. They changed these stickers a couple years ago, and it's like it's a thrift store with mostly single-digit priced items. Why is this necessary? And then of course you get the people in the store to put the stickers on areas that you can't really heat up, like, you know, sometimes if they're selling a TV, people will put the sticker right on the screen. It's like, it almost ruins the television set. And there we go. With enough heat, it does come off. Nope, it just... so ridiculous. Alright, that's not too bad. Alright, there's a little more sticky residue on the bottom we gotta take care of. Somebody applied, actually we're gonna use the same method. Somebody applied some ducted tape, probably to keep the little leg on there. Those legs notoriously break. There's a clip on the inside that latches them in place, and that seems to snap off for whatever reason, and then they just constantly fall off when the fan is moved. And when these things are clean, they are powerful enough on high to tip over. Oh, this is going to be a seriously sticky mess. Actually, that wasn't too bad. I tell you, the heat really works wonders in getting stuff sticky tape off. Alright, so we'll just take a little bit of Goo the Gone to clean it off. Now this says trusted #1 brand. That's Puffery. Oh, that's great. This is an excellent product. It works exceptionally well. There's a lot of sticky residue on here and it's taking it right off. And normally I'd want to rinse this off afterwards, but I'm not going to bother because we're going to clean the whole cabinet in a minute anyways. Okay, that's pretty good there. Oh shoot. Just spilled the Goo Gone. Oh, at least the table's not going to be sticky now. What a waste. This stuff ain't cheap. This little bottle's like $15. Oh, man, that stinks. Oh. I gotta get a new ticker towel as well. I'm just gonna close this before it spills again. That's the only problem with having carpet on the table is sometimes things like that will tip over. Clean up the rest of the sticky residue up here. This is barely coming off. Alright, now I gotta get a different ticker towel because I need to clean one. Okay, now let's get this disassembled. We have 6 screws on each of the guards. It's not atrocious, but it's definitely getting pretty dirty. And even just that amount of dust, that is enough to reduce the performance. Same thing with the blade. This isn't egregious, but this accumulation here, that is enough to reduce the performance of the fan considerably. This is one of the only failure points for these units, is these motors are getting blocked with dust. You blast some compressed air in there every couple months of operation, that'll alleviate that potential problem. Now we're going to remove the blade. Usually it's easiest to just push it down from the back like this. I don't know if you saw it in the video, but it did move. So we just come here and push it down, and then get it the rest of the way off. Sometimes they get kind of stuck. That was pretty easy. Clean this up. The blades on the 3733 are a little bit thinner and they're much flimsier. I mean, these are flimsy too, but they're not anywhere near as bad. These handles are removable, but I am not going to remove it because they tend to break. We will remove the knob and we will remove the switch, which just turns. And then we're going to remove the motor. Okay, and now there's just some sticky stuff that holds the wire in, which, well, it used to be sticky. It's not sticky anymore. There we go, that's what I expected. So this is not sticky at all, and this is stickier than normal. Go figure. Okay, and we're going to set this aside. We'll revisit that in a minute. Now we're going to take the frame over to the cleaning area. We're going to clean the frame and the blades by hand. And then we're going to clean the guards in the dishwasher. And I guess we could put the knob in dishwasher too. Or, let's see, that might require some friction. Yeah, we'll just clean that by hand too. It's not a big deal. Store brand dishwashing soap. Which is not coming out of here properly. What the heck is going on with this? I'll deal with that later. And TSP. This stuff is amazing. Put a little bit in the pre-wash and I'll put a bunch of it in with the regular wash. Plug in the dishwasher, and I'm going to run the faucet just to get the hot water to the machine before we start. It's going to take a few seconds because the hot water heater's in the same room there. Okay, it's hot. Now we'll turn it on. We're going to put it to power scour, and we're going to put it to pots and pans, and we're going to shut off the heated dry because that might warp something, and then we'll turn it on. Quite possibly the blade will be fine in here as well, but it's easy enough to clean by hand. I don't think it's worth risking. A little squeaky today. We'll get this area ready for cleanup. I like to put a piece of cardboard over here to prevent any splashes. Okay, now can this a little bit more. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, let me go get the rest of the parts now. It's heating season. My skin is already cracking from the dryness, so I'm going to use the chemical gloves to hopefully prevent my skin from drying out as much. I gotta get the vaporizers out, bring the humidity back up. Okay, so we'll start with the blade, and we're going to use this product, which is melamine foam. This is the off-brand version of the Mrs. Filthy magical eraser product. This costs about 1/60th the price if you buy it under the off-brand, and it works the same. It's like a miracle product. It even like feels cleaner. Look, the water is beating up on the surface just from that one wipe of it. It's such an amazing cleaning product. I use nothing else besides it at this point. There's no reason to. You know, this has no chemicals. It just works perfectly. The only thing I would not use this on is the old translucent blade Lasko Galaxy oscillating fans, or anything else that's got a translucent surface, because this will cause it to turn foggy. This is a mild abrasive, this sponge thing. Other than that, I find that it's safe to use on pretty much everything. There's all the dirt from the grills, or some of the dirt anyways. Don't want melamine foam going down the drain though. Alright, now we'll work on the guard. Just going to clean the inside of the sink here for a minute, and we're going to put it on the bottom of the sink, so there's going to be all sorts of dirt everywhere. Look at how easily it cleans the sink. I mean, we cleaned some pretty nasty stuff in this sink. That's why it looks the way it does. And this just takes it right off with a couple swipes. That sink looks like new now. This is not a fake edited video. It actually works that well. It's unbelievable. Every time I use this, I'm still amazed by it. Oh no, the protective barrier is falling. I'll go around the outside and the inside of the cabinet, all with this stuff. major liquid spill over here. It got it all over this fan. Fortunately, it's so dry in the house, it'll evaporate in like 20 minutes probably. Okay, the frame is clean and now drying off. Now let's do something with that switch. This is very difficult to get off. It's got to be like some kind of paint maybe. If this is struggling to take it off, you're usually in trouble. And this is exactly why we have the protective barrier, because all that splashing now would have otherwise gotten on all the equipment that's on the shelf. But now it kept it safe. Thanks for keeping it safe. Just like the blue plug will keep us safe, supposedly. Now we're going to work on the motor. If we were outside, I would just blast the whole thing with compressed air. But we're going to vacuum it all first because it's inside and like to minimize the mess that we make here in the studio. Vacuuming it off is not a complete solution. It will not get everything on the inside. That just collected some of the dust so that maybe it won't be as messy. Now we'll get out the compressed air. And you can see that this did not do a very thorough job. Plenty of dust left in there. Now it's clean. But we still need to add some oil, so we're going to take this apart anyways. While we're in there, we will go ahead and polish the shaft. Not that it needs it, but for the sake of being thorough, we'll do it. Extremely long screw in there, jeez. This we probably could have thrown in the dishwasher too, but it's not that dirty. Alright, so we got 4 screws around the outside of the motor. These are unreasonably tight. They don't need to be anywhere near that tight. Try a different driver to see if we can get one that fits a little better. That's not good either. That's pretty good. It's always important to use the right size screwdriver to reduce the risk of stripping the screw. Screws do not come out very easily. I don't know why. It's ridiculous. Now the shaft on here is pretty clean. If this was dirty, had like rust or something on there, we would need to clean that off before sliding the bearing over that surface. But it's pretty clean, so we're going to try it without doing any cleaning. If we meet any resistance as this slides up, we will stop and clean it. So let's see. Nope, there was no resistance. Okay, so here's our windings. This is very delicate. We don't want to scrape this with the edges of the wires, or the edges of this shell here. It's kind of stuck. So very delicately break that free. You gotta break it free on the other side too. Okay, this is free. We'll take the shaft out. That probably should have been done first. And now this is the flaky part of this. We gotta kind of push this wire through to separate this from the windings. Alright, that's good enough. Now we can just sit that down on the table. So we need to add some lubrication to this. You can use two different types of oil. You can use the 3-in-1 oil in the blue and white can. This is specifically for fans. That's why there's a picture of a fan on the back. Or you can use the Zoom spout oil, or this tends to be a little easier to find. We're going to use this. This was already pretty clean, but just as a preventative measure, we're going to go ahead and clean out the shaft, or the bearing first. We'll put a Tigger towel on the end of the screwdriver here and just kind of clean the surface of the bearing out. It's pretty clean. Same there, it's pretty clean. This was working properly, so we're not going to get any kind of significant change out of this. This is preventative at this point. If it's locked up, then you'd have probably sticky gunk in there you got to clean out or whatever. The oil needs to go in between the shaft and, or in between the bearing and the outside. So it goes in here, goes around here. There's a wick in here which absorbs the oil, and this is what's called a sintered bearing. The bearing will absorb through microscopic holes the oil over time during operation. So this is like a method of continuous lubrication. And if you have enough, a good enough wick and enough oil in it, you can go quite a few hours between service intervals. And this one is closed in the back, so we can just put a couple drops of oil right in there too. Front's a little bit dirty. I'm going to blow this off away from where we were just working, so we don't get dust in it. And we're going to do the same thing here. Now the older fans had oil ports on the outside of the motor, so you wouldn't have to split it open to do this. But these newer ones are, well, the companies want you to follow the, just throw it out, buy a new one model, but I refuse to do that because I think that's stupid and dumb. So I'll take it apart and oil it manually. Like I said, this lasts a very long time, but if you were so inclined, you could actually drill a hole in here and make your own oil port. Went a little overboard with the oil in this one. Alright, so leave those Kind of sitting like that so that they can absorb the oil. Now the shaft itself is pretty clean. There's not much to do on here. We will go ahead and polish up. There's a little bit of wear mark on the front. We'll take care of that. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these thrust washers here. This is for the front, so we'll put that with the front shell. And this is for the back, so I'll put this with the back shell. If those, again, if this was you know, locked up or not spinning very well, we can clean those very thoroughly with isopropyl alcohol and get all the old dried up oil off of it. But it's not having any kind of problems right now. Alright, so you can see there is some wear lines on the shaft. We'll get that taken care of right now. So we're going to move over here, and we're going to turn the shaft in this drill press, and we're going to polish the shaft with Simichrome polish. I like to wrap the shaft in either a ticker towel or a piece of paper. Works good too, just to protect it from getting damage when the chuck clamps down on this in the thing here. A lot of this goes a long way. You only need a very, very small, even that's too much. That's as dirtier than I thought. Much dirtier than I thought. Looks pretty good, and it wasn't really having an issue before anyways. Okay, that didn't quite go as gracefully as I would have preferred. So now all the wear marks are gone from the shaft, and it's got a nice mirror-like surface to spin on. Alright, let's set this back in place. Okay, that's good like that. And now put this back on. I guess we should really clean these even though they're not dirty. Pretty much no recognizable dirt is coming off. Put a little bit of oil on here. Sometimes if your motor's rattling, you can take this and reverse it, and it's kind of like the wear is on the inside and it's almost like having a fresh piece on there. Okay, now this has to go, let's see. This sits on the back like this. I think it goes like that. Yeah, so that these holes line up with those 4 holes. Okay, now we'll close it back up. It's important for these to be tightened symmetrically, but not overly tightened like they were before. Okay, now we might find why does it sound like that? You know what that is? That's oil. So the reason why it's making that noise, I've never had one of these make that noise before. There's oil in the felt surrounding the bearing now. There's this a coating, I guess we'll say, of oil in between the shaft and the bearing, and now there's an airlock in the back. And so that sound is air moving in and out of that area as the shaft goes up and down. It sounds metallic when you move it quickly, but if I slow it down, you can hear it's a liquid. I've never had one of these do that before. I don't think that'll be an issue during operation because it just turns like this during operation. It shouldn't be going in and out, but that's very odd. Well, I guess there's a first for everything. Add a little bit of oil in the front there just for good measure. Now we might find, so I was trying to get to before, we might find that the shaft is very stiff. And that's kind of the case here. It's a lot stiffer than it was before. That's normal. We have to align the bearings. So we're going to take a screwdriver and just kind of smack the shaft a couple times in a couple different directions, and that will line it up. It's running pretty freely now. I'll go ahead and turn it on for a minute just to work in some of the oil, and the vibration of it running will also help with the alignment. We'll put this little plastic thing back on there, and then we're pretty much just waiting for the dishwasher to finish. There's a patent pending on this stupid piece of plastic. Okay, so this is serviced and ready to go. Get any excess oil off of there. Alright, once the dishwasher finishes, we can reassemble and we'll have a pretty much like new fan. Here's all the parts from the dishwasher, clean as can be. We'll begin reassembly now. Minor camera freak show right there. Since this stuff is no longer sticky for whatever reason, we're going to have to just rely on the rear guard holding the wiring in place, which it will do just fine. There are some pretty serious QC issues with the molding of the plastic on these fans. You see, this is not even remotely centered over the motor, and the front guard is the same way. The the logo sits like off-centered. It's really kind of ridiculous. And this is off by a good 1/4 inch or so. It's about 18 to start there, and 18 and a, well, it's 18, a little over 18 and a half. There's about 18 there, so it's just, it's ridiculous. It's not, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just, I mean, for it to be that off, that's pretty bad. And that's why the blades on these things always shake, because the balance is so bad because the molding is not accurate. And the manufacturing tolerance in this mold is so poor, it's ridiculous. It's cleaned up really nice. Looks like new inside. Inside and out. And I have no doubt it'll run like new as well, despite the tolerance of the molding being absolutely abysmal. There is a flat spot on this blade. It's down there. It needs to line up. I don't know if this is always the case. It probably is always the case. This hole might indicate where the flat spot is. It's kind of nice that it's like that, if that's what that's for. If you don't have it lined up right, it just won't go on. There we go. Okay, so we have an issue here with the wiring. We're going to have to tie this down somehow. It's a little... Ah, it's getting windy out. That's a little too close for comfort. Why is it like that? Is that wind or rain? Huh, that's rain. I'm going to put a street light on so we can see what's going on out there. Okay, I think we're good now. It's pretty far out of the way. Maybe just for additional measures I'll put a wire tie up here to hold the line cord to the ribbon cable, because the ribbon cable is a solid piece of wire. It's not stranded, so it's going to stay in place. It's not going to move. The line cord is stranded, so it'll move pretty easily. It's not going to hold its shape. Alright, that's good. Bearings on this one are particularly good. Gonna roll back because of how out of balance it is. Look at that. Alright, let's get the front guard on. We'll give it a test run. A couple marks on the guard over here. We can probably clean that off with the melamine foam. But otherwise it looks really good. wasn't very good. Holes aren't lining up too good on this front one. Sometimes that happens. That's why I don't usually put all the screws in tight until the end. It's a little bit easier to move it around if the screws are only partially tight or partially put in. Okay, we're all done here. Sans the knob. Let's put the knob back on. Okay. No more grime up top, it's all cleaned up. The handle's kind of yellowed, which is an indicator that this might break any soon. Probably spend some time in the window. But otherwise, they clean up really nice. Even the finish has its luster back to it, and the paint's not too bad. This is a very nice example. So there we go, a almost 20-year-old fan. Good as new. Let's test it out. Easily twice the air than there was before. It's amazing how much of a difference that makes. And it sounds totally different too. I'll go ahead and insert that clip from before of it running on low, so you can hear a difference in the sound. Look at that, full stream of air now. Way more than there was before. And see what I was talking about with the with the guards. Thing's not even remotely centered up against the blade. I don't know if that's... Is it the motor struts being out of line, or is it the... I don't know what it is, but I see these like that all the time. It's ridiculous. I mean, I can understand like a mil or two of difference, but that's like... It's like a half an inch off. I can feel this blast in the air clear across the room. For whatever it's worth, these are pretty powerful. You know, especially for something still made today. And you know, there was a decline in quality in the 2000s. You know, these were a lot stronger in 1999, 2000, 2001, and then in the like early to mid 2000s they started to become less and less powerful. I don't think that they've gotten much less powerful between the mid 2000s and today, though. I guess they kind of hit their bottom in the early to mid 2000s when the initial reductions in performance were put in place. In early The early PSC motor models from 2000, 2001, those will blow this out of the water. But I think one from today is probably about the same as this. Okay, let's try the medium. Actually, the balance isn't too bad on this one. Sometimes it can really shake all over the place. This one's out of balance, but it's not atrocious. The noise level isn't all that bad on this either. I suspect on high it's going to tip over now. Yep, there it goes. Put a leg on there. Actually, no, we'll just lean it up against the thing for now. So that goes to show how much of a power increase there was compared to before. Huge difference in performance. Very powerful now. This airflow tester is a little bit too short. I gotta get a new one. Look at that, blasting the air out. It's no vintage box fan, but it's the best you can get today. Bearings are in excellent condition. So there we go. 20-year-old box fan, almost 20 years old. Cleaned up and running good as new. Doesn't take much to get it there either.